Chapter 2. Zero Space Dawn. Independent Colony System. Epsilon Reach. 18 years later. The dropship tore out of zero space with a bone-rattling shudder. I was seated in the middle command section, the open concept area that divided the cockpit from the large troop bay, giving me a clear view of the forward displays. At 42, I was a veteran lieutenant of the Protectorate Special Augmented Marine Corps. My body a patchwork of cybernetic enhancements that had kept me alive through more than a decade of relentless war. The war that had already been raging for over 2 centuries before I was even born. 85% of human space across the Orion Arm was already gone. Consumed, marked unsavable, lost forever to the Locus. Contact! The pilot called over comms. Locus swarm already engaging the orbital refinery. Multiple stellar organs in high orbit. We've got civilian transports trying to break atmosphere. Orders are to escort as many as we can to the Resolute on the system edge, Lieutenant Novan. My voice was calm, clipped. You heard him. Weapons hot. We're not here to die pretty. Beside me, Sergeant Calvaran checked the charge on his heavy rail rifle. Broad-shouldered, dark-skinned, from the rugged mining world of Karos 9. A planet that no longer existed. He'd lost everything to the Locus years ago. Now he fought with the same quiet fury I carried. Still think we should have brought more explosives, Kale muttered, flashing his familiar half-grin. I didn't smile. Focus, Warren. We get those transports out, then we hit the surface and buy them time. Through the viewport, I could already see the horror unfolding. The orbital refinery under siege. Swarms of Locus bioforms descending like living rain. Massive stellar organs hanging in orbit like obscene tumors. Already dropping gel-like payloads that birthed more warriors on the planet below. Civilian transports were lifting off desperately from the refinery. Escort formation, I ordered. Stay tight. Our small ship burned hard toward the fleeing transports. As we closed in, a thick tendril of Locus swarm detached from the main mass and came screaming after us. Millions of sickening spaceborne bioforms, some bloated with drone larvae for reproduction and transport, others equipped with massive grappling limbs designed to latch onto ships, tear them apart for minerals, and consume the bodies inside. They ignored engine overloads as if they were nothing. Contact rear, pilot barked. They're on us. I gripped my rifle tighter, dropped the matter displacement charges. Buy us a few seconds. The ship shuddered as the charges tumbled out behind us. The explosions bloomed in the void, but the swarm barely slowed, the leading bioforms simply parting around the blasts like water around stones. One civilian transport didn't make it. A cluster of grappling forms slammed into its hull, tearing through plating in seconds. I watched helplessly as the ship began to break apart, its engines flaring wildly before going dark. The Locus forms poured inside. I knew in that moment at least 1,000 innocent lives vanished. Keep us moving, I snapped. As the swarm tendril closed in, the capital ship Resolute, waiting on the very edge of the system, fired a single, precisely calculated directed energy beam. The lance of light burned a blinding white across the void. 7 long minutes of travel time for the laser to reach its target. It was a perfectly timed maneuver, calculated so that the beam would intercept the pursuing swarm just as the remaining civilian transports and our vessel slipped into the Resolute's protective envelope. The beam struck. The Locus tendril scattered in a burst of burning biomatter. The surviving fragments broke off and fell back toward the planet. Our dropship slipped safely into the Resolute's massive hangar bay. I exhaled once. Automated systems were already swarming our vessel, rearming hardpoints and recharging forward shields in a blur of mechanical arms and glowing conduits. A handful of raw-looking regular Protectorate Marines, most of them barely out of basic, packed into our dropship at the last second, squeezing in among us with nervous energy. I leaned forward in my harness and looked out the cockpit window. A Protectorate frigate, escorted by 10 gunships, was already departing the hangar, its massive bulk sliding out into open space. The sheer scale of the Resolute hit me again. This wasn't just a star carrier. It was a siege weapon, a mobile hangar, and a forward operating fortress all in one. Through the same viewport, I watched the last civilian evacuation ships touch down safely inside the cavernous hangar. A small wave of relief passed through me. We didn't stay long. The dropship's engines spun up again almost immediately. We launched back out, now traveling at sublight speed toward the planet. As we formed up, a squadron of Directorate frigates, ominous, heavy-hulled vessels that had come directly from Earth, fell in beside us. Their presence radiated overwhelming military power. Hundreds of other dropships joined the formation, turning our small escort into a full assault wave. I keyed my comm to the lead Directorate destroyer. Capital Vessel Resolute escort to Iron Dominion. We are en route to the surface. Requesting briefing on current ground situation before we hit dirt. The reply came back crisp and professional. Stand by for full tactical packet, Lieutenant Novan. Welcome to the fight. I leaned back in my harness as the data began streaming in. The war that had already taken everything from both of us was far from over.